Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I'm live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com. And down in San Diego, we have Dennis Bithoulkas. What's up, Dennis?
Hey, nothing much. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And
I'm actually excited because
yeah,
of who you're going to introduce next.
we have a very special guest. We met through Twitter and through this channel. And she is on 1428elm.com. She writes about Ash and so many other things. I just saw she wrote about X-Files too. The wonderful Susan Leighton. How are you, Susan?
Hey, I'm great, guys. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for showing up. I mean, already,
I was in the neighborhood.
Yes, exactly. The digital neighborhood.
The digital neighborhood. It's such a small neighborhood on the worldwide nets or whatever the kids are calling it these days.
Interwebs.
The interwebs, whatever. So we're here to cover Ash versus Evil Dead. We're into season 3. We're into episode 3. It's moving too fast for me, by the way. This one's called Apparently Dead. And this was one of the better episodes of the season, I thought. And it had a great beginning, guys. You want to just talk about the funeral real quick here? Because that was a hot mess in a good way.
I'm going to let Susan go with it and give us your impressions of the funeral there.
The first thing I thought of is this is like was just said, a hot mess, and I kept on thinking about Peter Dinklage in Death at a Funeral, and I was like, this is even worse than this movie. But I knew things. What got me about the whole scene was Ash coming in that getup, the plaid jacket, the garish 70s wide gold tie, but he's making a play. He's trying to get his daughter to respect him. He wants to make a connection. And I'm thinking, this is really sweet. And then he steals flowers. And I'm like, oh, this is just Ash. But there's some real moments there that if you look beyond the comedy of it, you can see when you look at Campbell's eyes, if you watch that, there's a connection there, and he's trying. Ash is really trying to connect with his daughter. He may not be successful at it, but he's making an effort for the first time in his life to actually connect with someone. And of course, it's going to go horribly awry because nothing ever does with this guy. And then, of course, you get the funeral, the parlor, the funeral master. I forget what they call them, but he's the head of the funeral.
The director,
the director of the funeral home. And he's, like, well, we took good care of your wife. And he's like, oh, for an hour and a half, but it was lovingly. And, he's like, he starts telling him how well they've taken care of her. And then it comes to, she's been fully restored. And this is great. Because Ash is like, son of a bitch. Oh, thank you so much. And you know what's going to happen next. So he's got to go in and check out, he's got to go in and check out Candy, played by the wonderful Katrina Hobbs, who's been with Renaissance and Spartacus, etc. So she's laid out. Of course, he gets a fork and he starts, just pounding away at her. And then he's like, baby, I'm sorry. I just had to make sure because, everything that happened. And then he's like, candy bar. And he's trying to be sincere. You were cursed with a stupid name. And it's just like a succession of all these bad, decisions. And then, of course, that coffin scene. You just know, don't stick your face in there, Ash. But then he does, and of course, in Three Stooges style, he gets yanked into that coffin. And oh my God, I was like, oh, here we go. He's in this coffin, this enclosed space. And then, of course, there's Deadite Candy, and she's really amorous, and he's not feeling it. But then she does something to him, and one of the best lines in this episode, one of them, because there's so many, this ain't the Kroger parking lot. I lost it. I'm like, oh my God, what in the world? And you see he's tussling with her, and this is just no means no, and all that stuff. And then it just gets worse. And she, finally they open the casket top, and she's just with a picture and sticking her tongue through it and all the blood. But I learned a very important lesson from that little segment, is that you can decapitate someone with a picture frame. Who knew? Now I do.
Yeah,
They
if you
set
try hard
everything
enough.
up. Yeah. And that was just a mess. But I will give a shout out to Pro FX New Zealand and Shay Lawrence. Those guys are the masters behind the effects. And that embalming fluid and the blood mix,
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
that was gross. But that's what the Evil Dead fans want. That's what we want to see. We want to see that hardcore stuff. And brilliantly, as only Bruce Campbell can do, that one-liner with, "How is it for you?" Great.
It's so good, and I
Just
love to
terrific.
see that they're branching out into other fluids. After last week, and then we got embalming fluid, which might be a step down from sperm, but just saying that was pretty damn gross. The tongue getting cut off was
Mhm.
horrific, and I don't even know why I watch this show because I'm kind of squeamish, so I'm always kind of looking away at this show. But that was I was laughing my ass off during that scene. And she
Well, the jaw was a mistake.
Yeah. The job was a
Oh.
Because
mistake.
Tappert
They said at the very
Tappert,
end. Yeah.
yeah, Tappert said at the little featurette at the end it was a mistake, but it worked so well. They're just like, let's just go with it,
Yeah.
and it did
Because,
work. It was
well,
brilliant.
they couldn't fix it because Bruce had ripped the jaw off by accident and they
Yeah,
couldn't fix it. So they're like, let's just leave it. And it worked. And I got to say that suit is actually a throwback to Raimi's when they used to do Three Stooges shorts. So that's actually a Shemp outfit, is what he was
that's
wearing.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That
No
is right.
way.
Shit.
Yeah.
And those
Oh
white
my.
loafers. Those
Mm-hmm.
white loafers,
And
man.
Bruce actually wears those in real life.
Yeah, he does.
So the Pat Boone Bucks. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it made me laugh as soon as I saw it. I'm like, oh man, he's wearing the Shemp outfit.
Now, I love how he plays Ash like pretty deep. I mean, it's this super shallow dude. So, I mean, that's a good acting job when like, okay, I'm playing a shallow guy so I'm playing somebody shallow who's trying to be nice, So yeah, and you're right. He sells it with the eyes. I mean, he's horrible at it. And I don't mind the Brandy character actually. She hasn't brought the show down at all, in my opinion. So that was hilarious. And then she tries. I love that. So he gets sucked into the casket, and the funeral starts, and he's missing, right? And nobody knows him. Like funeral director's like, yeah, we got to keep going.
out. He gets
knocked out inside the coffin, so they decide they need to continue the funeral with, and like, we don't know where Ash is, let's just get going. And she gives the speech, and it starts rumbling a little bit, and then he pops out. Now that's when I started laughing my ass off. He was just covered in. What did he say when he popped out of the coffin again?
He said, I don't know if I can swear on this, but
You can.
He said, "Fucking hell." And
Yes,
that just killed me. I was like, oh, because that's what you would say if you were stuck in a coffin. You would say "fucking hell." It was brilliant.
And go on.
No, I was just gonna say it was just awesome. I mean, him coming out of that coffin with the head in between the legs too, at crotch level.
We all grieve in our own way.
Yeah,
yes.
we all grieve.
And then when he's trying to put the coffin back up, and of course it's all full on Three Stooges, but I'm thinking of Spider-Man 2, and like Peter Parker's like putting all the mops that are falling down and stuff, and I don't know, man. I was just laughing my ass off for this one, so that was pretty good. And this is all prior to the credits, or that happened after the credits, but the first fight happened prior to the credits, which was pretty damn funny. And then our trio of the Ghost Beaters come in. We get Pablo, Kelly, and Dalton, or just New Guy. I keep writing him as New Guy.
Yeah, Dalton.
And I'll let you deliver the line, Dennis.
Yeah, I just love it because Kelly comes in and she goes, "Fuck me, it looks like a snuff film happening here." And I mean, that actually made me laugh. That was the best line out of the show by far. It's just the way she delivers it. She does such a good job. Dana does such a good job at delivering those lines. And yeah, just having them, they start talking about that they need to, of course, find the Kandarian dagger. And of course, Pablo starts having a vision right then and there. And he delivers the next great line, which is, lady, I don't think this is the clothing optional place.
He's like, maybe sometime we could go out for coffee or to a clothing store. That was great. That was great.
Yeah.
And prior to that, we see what Ash sees Ruby. So he sees that Ruby's back. And she's the guidance counselor that Brandy wants to live with. Well, Ash had kind of talked her into staying with her. But then the funeral kind of screwed that over, and she's gonna move in with the guidance counselor, who's Ruby, and she plays it off, like, what? I'm just a counselor. Who are you? You're crazy, Ash. So
you got to remember at this point, Ruby has the plans that in order to steal Ash being the chosen one, someone from his bloodline needs to kill him to take over being the next chosen one. And so that's why we have, she's trying to manipulate Brandy into doing this and bring her into the fold.
And we also have to keep in mind too, Brandy is not the only bloodline.
No, she is not.
Because her little demon baby that loves a leg or a thigh, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy, I have to mention this. Lucy Lawless, I've followed her career forever, and she is a great actress, a wonderful activist. But I will tell you, this year, she is just balls to the wall with her performance. She is relishing it. I'm loving watching her. And for the person that said that, that she's just phoning it in, I hate to tell you, no, she isn't. She's perfect in what she's doing.
Yeah.
Ruby is supposed to be low key right now. She's incognito. She knows Ash knows who she is, but to everybody else, she's incognito except the ghost feeders. So she's got to play it cool. She's got to hold the cards a little bit. She can't show her hand because things are going to happen and they're coming, and you can just see the foreshadowing and the progression that's inevitably going to happen. And I am loving seeing her as Ruby. She's terrific at it.
And she doesn't phone anything in.
No.
Whoever said that, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Lucy Lawless will be on the worst show and not phone it in. That she's guilty of being awesome a lot, but not guilty of phoning anything in. Come on, please. No, I think for one, she's already had that big prosthetic on, when she gave birth to the kid, and that was and they said she was a trooper through that. She's always cutting herself or doing some harm to herself at some point in an episode. I don't think an episode's gone by without her at least cutting her hand like she did today, and other body parts. So Ash confronts Ruby. Ruby's like, whatever, there's not a lot you can do. And he knows that. So they need to find the Kandarian dagger. Yes, the Kandarian dagger. And it is where the house went down. So
Ash, the cabin in the woods. So everyone needs to go back out to that damn cabin again.
Yeah. And in a rare move, Ash, again, he did this. It sends the kids out to go handle some business while he has to deal with his daughter. So the other ghost beaters go out, and he, has to go talk to Brandy. Brandy's gone home with Ruby, and Ruby drops her off at the Ash's house one more time. And Brandy goes, listens to some music. And she looks at whose tape player was that? That was this Ash's sister.
Cheryl. Right? Cheryl.
Yeah. So, and she starts listening to it said the Babes mix. I had to pause on that to see it, but it wasn't anything crass because it wasn't Ash's tape. We start hearing Crimson and Clover by Joan Jett. And then we follow Ruby out to the graveyard, and we already saw him in the scenes. We saw who's coming in the scenes, but I was super excited about this.
Real quick before you say what's going to happen next. There's a bit of foreshadowing that I don't know if too many people caught, but they probably did. When Brandy's in the room before she puts on Crimson and Clover, and she's just looking around at all the crazy goth things that Cheryl had, they cut to a sketch on Cheryl's easel, I guess you want to say. And who is it?
Lee Majors.
Lee Majors from the
young.
$6 Million Man years. And it's like a huge foreshadowing. And I just love that.
No, that was awesome when they faded. I'm like, oh my god, Dennis and I have been clamoring for him to come back. We were so bummed and shocked when he died and the way he died. So I was really happy to see that he was in the scenes, and but this scene was awesome. Like Ruby goes out, and what kind of was it, a moth? What the hell was that thing?
Yeah, the death's head moth. Hey Gary,
Right.
your computer's starting to freeze up, or your camera's starting to freeze up a little bit, just so you know. But yeah, that was a death's head moth that that she was doing some kind of blood ritual over a grave in the graveyard using the Necronomicon. And it turns out she's bringing someone back to life. And we see this body come out of the grave and make its way over to Ash's house, clump its way through up the stairs while Brandy is listening to Crimson and Clover. And this is all set to Crimson and Clover, which was really nicely done. I guess the two guys who directed it, that's what they had set this thing to. And we see the body go into the shower, the zombie, if you will, in the shower, and just taking all the gunk off and everything. And
not just gunk, like his skin. When the body arrives at the door, and it's a silhouette, and you see the bone, right? And just like the arm, that was so badass, man.
Can I just mention something about that?
Sure.
Too? Yeah. The silhouette in the door, I'm glad you brought this up. This to me was another little Easter egg, but maybe it's just me. When you see his arm, think back to the opening credits of the $6 Million Man.
Oh yeah.
When they showed the bionic arm, I don't know if that was intentional, but I liked it. I thought that was very nice little sly wink nod, so to speak. Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah,
that was his leg.
His
leg too. Yeah, so because it was his right arm and his left leg, which is
Oh wow, that was a good catch. Right on. I would have caught it the second time around, but that's good. No, that whole scene was just was great. You don't get that in horror anymore. Like just the good, I don't know. And then to the music and that whole shower scene where it's kind of slow motion and you see the mouth open, you can see the teeth through the cheek, and he's pulling skin off as Brandy's like slowly approaching the shower, and then she thinks it's Ash, and then Ash gets home and Brandy's talking to Grandpa, sitting on the couch, making fun of Ash in his TV commercial, which is what did Dad call him? Well, besides that, what an asshole, Who buys from this guy?
Yeah, and I love how he goes, so what do you think you're doing here, you old pervert? And he's like, I'm brushing the chip crumbs off my couch. I just love the way he was playing it, like he's been living there all this time and hasn't just recently come back from the dead. And you can totally tell they're just trying to drive Brandy away from Ash at this point. That's Ruby's whole game, is just to drive her away from him. And it's working.
Well, yeah, and it's becoming clear that I don't know. Well, Ruby is working on her own. This is just a theory that I based in nothing, just what I've seen in these first 3 episodes. And also what I heard in the scenes for next week, that where she met, well, I don't want to say that yet, but Ruby's working a little differently this time for sure. Like Susan said, it's incognito, but it's not it's not how she's worked in the past. She's been very kind of just balls out before. She's trying to be subtle. And obviously she wants to replace Ash with her kid, which we didn't get to see this episode at all, which is kind of thankful for that, being squeamish and all. Yeah. And, Ash is talking to Brandy. He's like, your grandpa's dead, right? She's like, well, stop. We're just trying to, this is the first time I've had a connection to somebody. And he's like, his brain, what did he say? His head got squished like a melon or something like that.
A fucking watermelon.
Like a fucking watermelon, yeah.
So yeah, so no, he fires up the commercial again. They're still making fun of Ash, and like he's all, "What? What's wrong with that commercial? It's good, but that doesn't matter right now." And he's all, "You, me, in the kitchen right now." So he goes and talks to Pop in the kitchen, and Pop, that's when he starts blowing his cover a little bit. And what did he call him again in the kitchen there, Dennis?
Oh, well, are you talking about when he's burning his face?
No, right before when they're open the shower. I get.
Oh, I forgot what he called him. God, I didn't write that one down, actually.
There you go. I forgot what he said, but it's not that important. You can always go back and rewatch it. And it starts a fight, and Grandpa throws a can of pork and beans, and it hits Brandy in the head and knocks her out. And Ash again is trying to like not start crap in front of Brandy, which is again Ash making an effort, which he would never do for anybody ever. So that's kind of it. Like Susan pointed out, it's really impressive that like he's like, okay, maybe I'll kill this guy in the kitchen, and not in front of her. Of course, he epically fails at that later on. So it knocks out Brandy, and Grandpa and Ash start going at it, and this is a pretty funny fight as well.
I want to say before you get into the whole fight scene here, at this point, one thing I noticed is that Brandy is going through the same trials that Ash went through in the movies. In the first movie, he got covered in a whole bunch of blood and gore, and he was pretty much the victim, if you will. And in the second movie, Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn, he gets knocked out a lot. He spends most of the movie unconscious, kind of like Brandy does in the kitchen.
Yeah, it is mirroring that quite a bit, to be honest with you. I agree. And then, so they start going at it, and what did Grandpa says? I like my kids well done. Yep. And
trying to burn Ash on the burner there.
And then it gets flipped around. He's like, I like my, what does he say? I like it to smell like old man.
Old man morning.
Apocalypse Now.
For one, who in the fuck loves the smell of old man? Jesus. That is sick and twisted. So we get the fight ensues, and this is interesting because Ash ends up right next to his chainsaw, and then we finally get that famous Raimi quick cutting poop. It looks like it looked like 70s karate movie, and he flips over and then gives it to Grandpa right in the gut, but he doesn't cut his head off.
Nope, he does not.
He does not cut his head off. He guts him, and then all the blood ends up over Brandy, and Brandy's just drenched at this point. And of course she bails out, and he's like, wait a minute. The least, he was already dead. I didn't kill him, and that's, in the meantime, we're in the forest, Dennis, with
Pablo, Kelly, and Dalton, and they're still searching for the Kandarian dagger. They're digging, and Pablo kind of knows where it's at. He can feel it. And they've dug this pretty big hole, and they're finding just pieces of the cabin. They found the deer head, the clock. They're just finding everything, and they're pulling it out to the side. It's kind of like a best of the cabin getting laid out there. And Kelly finally finds the Kandarian dagger. And that's when they said, oh, we got to be careful here. They said it earlier on. I'm kind of surprised Evil hasn't tried to get us at this point. And sure enough, be careful what you wish for, kids, because Evil starts coming through the forest, and they're like, run. And so they split up in different directions. And Dalton, of course, is the unlucky recipient and gets the Bruce Campbell treatment of getting attached to that little contraption that they push him through the woods.
Yep. Evil did too. Another callback.
Yep, exactly. And he gets impaled.
Yeah, and Kelly, for one, Pablo disappears.
Yeah,
and everybody gets separated. So it's Kelly alone with some form of very big gun. And she comes on Dalton, and he's impaled. He's, gushing up, and he's asking for the Kandarian dagger. And he said Pablo set him up. He's all, Pablo did this to me. Which was, I could kind of believe it for a second, but then I'm like, he's going to ask for the dagger, and he asked for the dagger. So, and Kelly's, at that point, she's like, I'm sorry. She knows he's gone. She's seen enough of this crap. And he yells for the dagger. And then Pablo shows up in a truck, and he's like, you don't fuck with the ghost beaters. And, knocks him out and runs him into a tree. And this is a weird scene. Okay. So he runs him into a tree. Pablo disappears. Kelly walks up onto the truck and he's gone. It cuts away and it does not cut back for the rest of the episode. So that's the end of so we got to wait till next week to find out. I was fully expecting for them to come back to that. So I was like, whoa, okay. But then we had the grandpa fight, which is basically a grandpa fight because both those guys are old enough to be grandpas, to be honest with you.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are. And the stuntmen did fine work, and so did Bruce Campbell. And that's where it ends. But
yeah, we go into the credits with both
Oh,
Bruce Campbell and Lucy Lawless singing.
Can we please talk about this?
yes.
Oh my God. Okay. So the scene, everybody's like, what the hell is this song? What is that? Sounds like Bruce. That sounds like Lucy. What is this? Well, what they're actually doing is kids from the musical Bye Bye Birdie. And Bruce is Paul Linding it through the whole thing because Paul Lynde did it in the movie.
Nice.
And Bruce is doing all the talk, singing, and then Lucy comes on, and she's perfect. And and everybody's like, well, why did we end with this? I mean, it's great, but why? Well, because they're talking about kids.
Yes.
You know, what's the matter with them and kids? And it's just a great way to end it. And Campbell even got on Twitter last night because Lucy brought it up. And I think he quote tweeted her and said, hey, Lucy, let's take the show on the road.
Okay.
And it was just, that was one of the best ways to end the episode. And it was like a surprise because you didn't know it was going to happen. You had no idea.
No, that was
great
just
song.
awesome. Yeah, they did a great. It took me about midway through, and I finally realized I'm like, that's Bruce singing. And then when Lucy came in, I'm like, and that's Lucy. Nice. It's awesome.
Well, you know, Crimson and Clover and the Meza Valdez brothers that directed it, that set that whole sequence to Crimson and Clover. If you listen to the lyrics of Crimson and Clover with I don't hardly know her, but I think I could love her. The whole song basically is sort of echoing what you might perceive Ash's thought process. Because he doesn't really know her, but he thinks he can love her, but there's so many trust issues there. And they kind of circle each other like, you know, like dogs that don't quite know if they're going to be friendly or what they're going to do. So that not only was well choreographed, but the thought process behind using that, and it seems like they're doing that a lot this year with the musical choices that they are making. Because before we had, you know, the 1970s and classic rock and a lot of deep cuts, B-sides, space trucking. Because when you think of Deep Purple, let's face it, you think Smoke on the Water. You don't think space trucking. Well, now we have space trucking, but this year we're in the 80s, and that's kind of befitting because that's where they left off. You know, they went into the 80s, they time traveled in season 2. So now we're in the 80s and we're getting all these great songs, but they also have a purpose to them too, which I think is Joseph LaDuca does a marvelous job with the music. I think he's just terrific with, you know, whenever there's scenes of like Brandy on the bed, you get that plaintive violins. You've got that throughout season 2 when Ash and Amanda were in the cabin. That's also, to me, an integral part, oddly enough, of this series. But maybe that's just me.
No, they actually do a really great job. I mean, putting everything together. And honestly, this episode, this season, like we've said in the first 2 episodes, they just kind of felt disjointed the first 2 episodes for us. And this is the first episode back, I think, that kind of feels like old Ash versus Evil Dead, like what we got from season 1 and season 2. Both the humor, and it just feels like everything's clicking now on all cylinders.
It does. And they warned us this was going to happen. They said, you know, just wait a second. We're turning this one way up this year. You know, Dennis and I talked about in the previous 2 podcasts, missing Greg. I can't pronounce his name. The guy who was the showrunner last time.
D. Gregorio.
Who is on as a consultant. I was kind of surprised to see his name. And his his leaving was very vocal, a bit too vocal maybe, but it was vocal, and we felt like maybe they're missing him. This episode kind of corrects that for me. This felt, yeah, like Dennis said, I'm just echoing what Dennis said and what Susan said. This felt like a season 1, season 2 episode to me, which is great. That means the rest of the season's going to kick ass, which is good news.
Well, they have Mark Verheiden now as the showrunner, and Mark Verheiden's worked with Campbell with the Dark Horse production of My Name is Bruce, and he knows Bruce's voice. He gets that, so that translates well in my mind to the writers' room, the writers' staff. And I think, delving into the mythos of Ash, you need somebody like that understands the way the actor operates. Then the dialogue is more true to the character, because Campbell tells the writers that if he doesn't like what they write, what's on the page, he will change it, and don't be surprised. So I think Verheiden is doing an excellent job. I mean, he comes from the world of comics, Predator. I think he did that series.
That's right.
Yes,
I remember him now. Yeah.
He's the right guy for what they're trying to do. And I know not a lot of people are into the dark areas that they're going to explore, but I just get this feeling that it's going to be worth it. It really is going to be worth it. And the fans need to stick with it, because this is going to be what they want. But like I said, that's just my feeling. I don't have any insider information. It's just what I feel by watching the episodes.
And that's what Dennis and I were kind of asking for last season. We were very happy with the first 2 seasons, very happy, almost perfection. But I was wanting more. I wanted more Army of Darkness. I know budget constraints kind of keep that from happening, but as you said, going in the darker places, that makes me very happy to hear that. That's I want to explore this. I mean, we're deconstructing Ash as much as we can deconstruct Ash. It's obvious that Ash acts the way he does because everybody he knows has died horribly. So that's why we don't want to think about that too much, because it does take away from the humor of it. It's like, oh, that's really fucked up and sad. Yeah. But it's the truth. He's just dealing with humor. Otherwise, he'd probably just blow his brains out or go to Jacksonville, one or the other. But
humor, drugs,
piggyback on what you guys are saying. A lot of people are complaining about Ash this year. They're like, well, when did Ash turn into this buffoon? When did this happen? And here's what I tell them, and I'm going to say it here, so don't at me on Twitter or whatever. This is just what I think. We started to see the genesis of Ash as he is now, starting in Evil Dead 2 a little bit, and then going into Army of Darkness, definitely.
Yep.
Because for exactly what you guys just said, if you have had horrific things happen to you, you compensate, because you could lose your mind if you don't. In his case, he's never been to a shrink. So how does he handle, ball, but that's a whole other story. But if you think about it, if you got this severe PTSD, you're going to do things to counteract the hell that you just went through. There's going to be drinking. There's probably going to be drug taking, because you don't want to think about it. And all of that is making him what he is today. And fans don't seem to understand that he's 60. Ash is 60. Bruce Campbell is 60.
Yep.
He's not 30 some years old anymore, like Army of Darkness. And they're confusing. They can't see that when people age, they change. It's inevitable. That's how it is. They can't see this. And I'm not doing any disrespect to Mr. Campbell at all, but he's a 60-year-old guy now. Let's start looking at Ash from that point of view. And I think if you jumpstart from there, you will totally get into this season. That's just, like I said, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. People. Sometimes people, if they don't treat what's wrong with them, they don't get better. They get worse. And Ash has gotten worse. He's saved us many times, but somebody needs to save Ash. He needs some serious freaking therapy, big time. And I don't know if I want him to get it, because it would make for less exciting show. But they got if the people who are trapped in that, or maybe people who watch, I don't want to generalize or anything like that, but maybe it's just people who watch Ash clips on YouTube and don't like really watch the movies and haven't watched them over and over again like Dennis and I have. God, Dennis has seen him more than I. I've watched him a few times over, but not like Dennis, and not like, I don't have the knowledge Susan has. So out of all of us, she has the most. Or, Dennis.
I've owned it on VHS. I've owned it on Laserdisc. I've owned it on DVD, and I've owned it on Blu-ray. And more than likely, if it ever comes out on 4K, I'll own it on 4K.
David 404 says, I thought Bruce Campbell was 58. 58, close enough to 60. I'm 48. I'm 50.
59. He'll
59.
be 60 soon.
Yeah, that's right. He just turned 59 last year. That's right. So
when you get that close, it don't really matter. It really don't.
And I also want to, say I was just reading something about, and I want to say it was about Ash versus Evil Dead, about the hero's journey, and how the hero's journey, usually the old heroes, it was Harlan Ellison, as a matter of fact. That's what it was. Harlan Ellison. Favorites. Yeah. And this is actually something that Bill Selby had posted up there on Facebook, and I was reading through the interview with Harlan Ellison, and he says the hero's journey, you normally, once you get to the hero becoming the hero, then they have them do some really dark stuff. And that's what is going on with Bruce right now, or actually Ash, I should say, Ash. In Ash versus Evil Dead, is he has become the hero. He is the hero of Elk Grove. And now he is going through that dark place of what happens in the hero's journey, like Gilgamesh, for example.
Perfect.
So yeah, it just all of a sudden struck me when you were talking about it there, Susan, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what Harlan Ellison was talking about.
It's Joseph Campbell too. Harlan's on it. It's Joseph Campbell too, and the cast has mentioned this. They're going on a Joseph Campbell journey. It's dark. It's going to reach into it. But when I spoke to Bruce in LA, when I interviewed him, we talked about Ash losing his shit this year. And, we're going to see that. I don't know when, but yeah, he's going to lose his shit. And does he get it back? Who knows? But you see that we're on that path. It's coming up, and it's like a freight train.
Exactly. Yeah. Apple Crow saying Dennis dropping the Gilgamesh reference. Yes. I do read outside of comics and stuff like that. So
it was the Gilgamesh comic, wasn't it? That was by,
no, I actually read the book.
Frank Miller's Gilgamesh.
I've read one of the translations of the books. Yes.
No, I just
in the original.
You read it on a clay tablet in Sumerian.
I did. Yeah, in Sumerian, the original Sumerian.
Yes.
Don't read it now.
Yeah. Don't. I dropped it in the bathroom. Shit. No.
Well, I do have this other book that's been inked in blood and is bound in human flesh. If you really want me to read from
it is.
Nope, that's ain't French poetry. Let's not.
I know. I just think of oh my God, from that first episode. Oh fuck! After he finds out he got stoned and read that. That was my favorite scene.
That first episode. So good. I think that was my favorite thing of last year when we were talking about our top things of 2017, and that was my favorite thing was Ash versus Evil Dead. Episode 1 of that.
El Jefe, yep.
Yeah, the El Jefe was just awesome.
Yes, it was when we did our anniversary, and you did like what's our favorite thing of all of our things. Yes. Yeah. Somebody asked if we wanted to do award shows, and I said yes. So we're going to do awards, but we're going to try to do them differently, just for the future. You want to get to the chat a little bit here before we? We got some time, so let's get to the chat.
Actually, Susan, we've talked about this before on the show about how the fans, have been kind of a little more, haven't been on board this year. With things that are going on. Did you want to talk a little bit more about kind of fan apathy on that?
Yeah, thank you. This year, like you guys, we were talking briefly before the podcast here, there's a lot of this attitude right now with the fans. Watch it later. I'll just binge watch it. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to watch it now. I did that in the past. Yeah. But what they don't realize is they need to start watching this show now. The ratings are out. They're not what people have expected. The show hasn't been renewed. Fans need to understand it's a matter of watch now, not later, because as Bruce has said in many interviews, there may not be a later. You're waiting for Netflix, it may not be a later. They have to realize that if they love this show, if they want to keep it on the air, they have to watch it, because how is Stars going to know? How are they going to know how to renew it? They go by numbers. That's unfortunate, but numbers plus social content, which plays a little bit into it, where they look at the buzz that's being generated on the internet, what's happening. I know for myself and a group of really dedicated people, such as his Twitter handle is Weirdo Anthony, and then there's Mike Krushik, um, and also Lindsay Ferris and Dana DiLorenzo. I want to give a shout out to these two. And also Ray and Lucy, because Lucy actually got on Twitter, I think, with the Pacific broadcast. And Ray did too. But Dana and Lindsay have actually been live tweeting. They've done it since episode 1. And they interact with fans, and they're making an effort to do this, and I think that's terrific. And I wanted to thank them for that, because you won't get many cast members from shows doing that. Another thing that fans have to understand too is what Bruce has been talking about: unrestricted content. Yes, Stars has its faults, okay? The whole flap with when's it coming out? It should have been October. Oh my God, it's up against TWD, the award shows. But there's always going to be something. We're never going to have a clear slate. And for what Ash gets with unrestricted content, you're not going to get that on ABC. You're not going to get that in a lot of places. They let these guys do what they want to do. They're giving us movies, basically. And that's what brought Tappert back to Stars, was that whole relationship. You're going to go where you have a relationship. And if they're the people that, come to you and say, hey, we want to do this, and this is what we're going to give you, and we're not going to get in your face about anything, then you're going to take it. This is what the fans said they wanted, and now they have it. It's time for them to just start watching the show. That's what they need to do. Otherwise, it'll be a memory, and nobody wants that.
It's time to pay the check, basically.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
And no offense to anybody out there, but I've said this in my comic store, as especially with people who would pirate digital comics. And, I don't judge for people pirating once in a while. Everybody does it. No big deal. But don't complain when something leaves if you didn't pay to watch it. Okay. I mean, not everything's going to be free. This stuff all costs money if you do like to be entertained. And like Susan said, and we said this when it first came out, especially with, however anybody feels about Star Wars or a lot of the properties they've brought back and failed miserably at, Ash was done perfectly. That is how you bring a franchise back, with the original creators, the original star. It not only captured the original spirit of the movies, it expanded on it beautifully and brought in 2 great new characters with Kelly and Pablo that, like, I would watch a show on the side with just them. So they gave us, like Susan said, they gave us what they want, and it's not that expensive. Find a way to pay for it. Buy a Blu-ray. If you got Amazon Prime, it's a few bucks extra. You can cancel soon as it's done. And yeah, putting it off, they don't count that. They'll count the ratings within a week or 2 of the episode coming out. Everything after that it's internally. They don't really, the show doesn't count it towards what they could sell things on, and renew it. So that's especially with Ash. Okay. Make an exception for Ash. Don't freaking steal it. Cause we want it. We want this show to happen, and it relies 100% on us.
And Blu-ray sales, after the fact, don't help it now.
No.
For season 3. So, I mean, definitely go out and buy the Blu-rays if you love the show. I mean, I've got both, the first 2 seasons on Blu-ray because it's an awesome show. But yeah, you got to watch it now, and it counts. I mean, even if you're watching it just on the, like, I watch it on the Stars app is how I watch it, and I know that counts actually towards the views because they're looking at who's streaming it and then also who's watching it live.
And you get it early on the Stars app and Amazon Prime. If you live on the West Coast, you get it at 9:00 on Saturday.
You get it on the East Coast too. It drops at midnight.
Yeah,
I'm gonna grab my prize.
So yeah, I mean,
sorry, I had to grab my prize.
And I know we say this all the time. We have a hashtag out there, bring back Boomstick. And it's there for a reason because we want this show to keep going. And so, yeah, it relies on the fans. It relies. I know Davis 404 says, I just don't have time, but okay, I'll make some.
Yeah, I'm coming to your house and kicking your ass. No, I'm just kidding. Ash is coming.
Join us on the live tweets. I mean, the live tweets happen every Saturday on Twitter at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're on there. Dana and Lindsay usually jump on. I mean, that's one way of talking about the episode so they know that we're watching it. We watch it live. We talk about it. There's a Facebook party that goes on at the Bruce Campbell fan club that they do a Facebook party where they do a live watch, and it's in a spoiler thread. So it's not on the open forum. Come join these things. Join in. Let these guys at Stars know, hey, we want this show. I mean, I ran a contest with Bruce on the Loose, which is a podcast dedicated to Campbell. And we have a contest that we ran, and we're going to pick the winners by March 17th of show us your reaction shots to episode 3. And, with the TV in the background, and we're going to pick somebody. And plus that went on Twitter and Facebook. And I know that Stars monitors those things. So they're going to look at hashtags. And when they see hashtag added 33, they're going to see these different reaction shots. So that's another way. I mean, fans need to just show Stars, hey, we're out here. We're watching this show. We want a season 4 renewal. We want to know how this all ends. And unfortunately, yeah, we can complain about Stars, but like you said, you guys have been saying this since forever. It is the fans. Fans live or die. It's like they are the benchmark for series. And if they don't come, the series isn't there. Exactly. So, we need to show these guys, hey, thanks, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, Rob Tapper, everybody, the whole cast. Hey, thank you. Thanks for hearing us for 20 some odd years of wanting Evil Dead, of wanting to see this. We need to step it up. That's just my opinion.
Agreed. And Stars has 2 other great shows, so it's not like it's a bad network to join up to. Okay, there's good shows. So yeah, with that, we've sorry to I don't want to bring it down, but I don't shill for free, okay, except for Ash. I will shill for free for Ash. Other people have to pay me to shill, but we'll do it. And real quick, we are running a little contest of our own. Now that Susan brought it up, and I didn't bring it up last podcast, so sorry. But if you leave a comment, if you're subscribed and you leave a comment at the season finale, we will pick a winner out of a hat. The more you comment, the more entries you have. If you are a patron, you get an extra entry. What you're getting is Ash versus Evil Dead season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, and that also includes the digital copies and this awesome Ash Williams action figure, which is the very last thing I purchased at Toys R Us before it goes out of business.
Nice.
And the detail on that is amazing. It's like actually having Bruce Campbell for your desk or wherever you put it. It looks exactly like him.
It looks so good. You could touch him, have him next to you, cuddle with him at night. So yes, we will announce that winner at in our finale recap. So yeah, join in. And what's this? What's going on with the group chat hug? Oh, did I miss something in there?
They were talking about Ash needing a hug, and it said group chat hug is what we were talking about.
Hug.
Yeah, he does. Jody says in an announcer's voice, the Neurotic Podcast is streamed in front of a live streaming audience.
It is. Yes. 5s and 10s of people are coming to see us. It's great. It's great. Yes.
And the other thing is that Jody also said, can you imagine if they end up getting Bruce and Sam on one of these? Hell, I would love it, but Gary would be speechless. I'll just kind of drool, and I know this. I already, yeah. I would probably be going, yeah. So
I'm not speechless too often.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm asleep, but not often.
Yeah. And let's see here. Jody says, question though. I'm sorry, I'm picking Jody, but he's got the most here. That moth that Ruby brought back to life, is it a deadite now too? I was expecting it to attack the ghost beaters.
Our insects probably are deadites. You would think so, but maybe that was just part of the spell.
I think it was just part of the spell. Yeah. I mean, it was a little death's head moth. So that was, I could see that actually going down some deadite's mouth and kind of multiplying, and that would be kind of nasty, cool. Having all these, death's head moths flying out of its mouth. Yeah.
Ew.
Yep.
Still not as bad as sperm.
Yeah,
that
true.
Was pretty bad, dude. That was wow. I thought the colon one was bad. Nope.
Yeah. And I want to mention also Candy Bar when they're in the coffin. She goes, "Hey, do you remember this?" And she pulls up her finger, and he goes, "Nope, no." Oh, and she puts the finger right up his butt.
Yeah.
That's right after he says this ain't the Kroger parking lot.
Yes, exactly.
His little hands off the Johnson.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's just, oh my god. Apple Crow says, I'm glad they went back to Evil Ruby though. She's not as much fun when she's being good. No, she's not.
No, we want Evil Ruby for sure.
Actually, Lucy Lawless has been doing so much better as evil characters than she has as good characters. Like Lucretia in Spartacus.
Oh man, she was so good in Spartacus.
She was so good in that. And now as Ruby, she just needs to stick doing villains from now on. She really does. Viking Bitch says you're a little fuzzy, Gary.
I'm a little fuzzy.
Well, that was when your camera was fuzzy. Sorry, that's what it was in reference to, but not anymore.
I'm in a constant state of fuzzy.
Yes,
we talked about on that live stream earlier. We all know why, don't we? People who are at the live stream, I'm winking at you.
Viking Bitch says, I was so happy to see Lee come back. Do you think he's gone for good? He wasn't decapitated. He is in next week's episode.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So yes, I think he's back, and what the hell, bring him back.
Yeah.
And that also shows that hey fans, we're going to give you some fan service here, which I mean, okay, Ash vs. Evil Dead is fan service, but it's done well. It's this is how you do fan service. And so yes, having him back. And they also mentioned Ruby mentions that the Dark Ones can't stop me now or something. So that's what led me to so she's working kind of autonomously. Now in the story, that little background story they did, she got kicked out of hell or wherever the hell she was, right? Because she was too evil for the evil.
She trapped them. She tricked them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But her friend Kaya's soul was swallowed
into the book. Yes.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. And that's why the book has so much cantankerous humor, I guess you could say, to it. As a friend of Ruby's it has to be cantankerous, that.
So do you think we'll see this friend at some point this season?
Probably. I'm pretty sure. Do you think her friend was the one whose skin it's made out of?
Wouldn't it be awesome if it was that what was her sidekick's name from Xena?
Oh god, Gabrielle.
If it was the girl who played Gabrielle, that'd be funny.
That would be really funny. I don't think she'd come back though, but
no, probably not. That was just a thought.
That would be lovely.
That's one of those nerdy thoughts we all have, don't we?
Here we go.
Lucy Lawless turns 50 in March. She's she's my age.
Yeah,
she's around my age. Yeah, she does look great.
Viking Bitch says, the older we get, the less we give a fuck. After 40, you just are who you are.
Yep.
You go, Viking Bitch. You
go.
No,
Viking Bitch is the hero of many.
Yes.
Hero of many. and the champion of much. So yeah.
Sorry, Appleker says Shaka when it's not a comics reference.
When it's not okay, guys. Sorry, I'm a little bit one tracked. Okay, gotcha. I got it.
And Davis 404 says Ash is unique that in this universe he can never advance in his journey. It's always the low point for him.
Right. The hero's
man.
journey in the gutter.
Appleker also says one of my dogs is named Enkidu, Enkidu. He showed up on our porch, flea bitten and mangy. The name came immediately.
That's how I showed up on my wife's doorstep.
And nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Flea bitten, mangy.
Yep.
That's cool.
And
took in a nice dog. That's very nice.
Jody says
Always
Stars
rescue.
is seriously crazy if they cancel this. Yes. They are.
Well, you know, they're going to find out from what everybody's saying mid-March.
Yep.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
was kind of frankly surprised at that because I thought maybe they'd see it through till the end. And then, like you usually hear when series, you know, finish a season, you wait, there's that waiting period. But Campbell keeps saying mid-March. They'll know.
So we've got a little time to do a push. And, you know, I was guilty of not being at that live tweet, but I will be at the live tweet this Saturday and from here on out. I will be there.
Yeah, I'll probably take a look at
tweeting.
the live. Well, actually, that happens on Friday, correct, Susan?
Sundays
Sundays.
at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we tweet right through the show.
Yeah, we can get in a little bit before we start our counterpart stuff. So that gives us like an hour to live tweet so that we can do that.
Cool. Yeah, and speaking of counterpart, Viking Bitch says, I actually got stars for American Gods, but I came back for Action Counterpart.
There you go. Yeah,
Nice.
there's 3 fantastic shows on that network. So
Yes.
that's more than HBO right now, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
and Jody also says they effed up by canceling Black Sails and Da Vinci's Demons. Why would they cancel Ash? And it's ratings.
You can always go back and rewatch them too. Well, how many seasons did Black Sails run? I know that was
4.
crazy.
4, yeah.
4. But see, here's the thing, and I've been noticing this, and I've been reading a lot about television ratings and all that stuff because we learned about it when I was in college and my major and all that stuff. But now I'm rereading everything, and it seems like the trend is in television 3 or 4 seasons, especially in cable, and then it's like done. And maybe eventually that's going to happen. Who knows on broadcast television? I don't know if it has to do with diminishing attention spans or just characters outlive their usefulness and let's remember them. You know, let's not ER this, and keep it going in perpetuity.
We've talked about this for quite a while, and I'm actually a big proponent of this, is doing like what the telenovelas do. What they've done for a long time is you do about, a series arc for 2 or 3 years, and then it's over with. So it's like your big series. So you do have 3 seasons, but it's a story that's set for 3 seasons or 4 seasons or whatever. Right. You do it and then you're done.
And I would agree with that. I think a lot of shows peter out in the writing process. I think that we can put some of it on the fans and attention spans. I totally agree with that. And we're talking about adults mainly right here because kids just flat out aren't watching TV. So TV is still reeling from like losing a generation. But like Game of Thrones, until recently they've had source material to go off of. So it's like it's the strong writing and networks right now. We're in a weird time because there's a changing of the guard in entertainment and more of it's coming up my way up here to Silicon Valley. There's a huge war brewing between Apple and Amazon, and they're Disney's trying to buy Fox and Netflix, and they're trying to all gather their strength so they can take on these streaming services. And what the AT&T deal's pretty much dead now. That's going to send things reeling, and Comcast just made to try to buy Sky to screw up the Disney deal, but they ended up screwing themselves over. And who's going to be there in the end? Apple, Netflix, and Amazon. So they're going to be the new networks, and the networks who are currently making the shows are starting to cut their budgets. I mean, we saw this in Jessica Jones. You can tell they cut the budget there, and people are having to work with less. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you can get really good stuff out of that. You get really creative. But if you're like halfway through a season and you're used to a certain amount of money and they cut it in half, that can be discouraging. So they're dealing with that. There's a lot of factors. There's tons of factors. There's cord cutting. There's budgets. There's streaming services. There's kids not watching anymore. It's interesting times. It's also the best time for TV. We're getting a lot of good TV.
Yeah, Davis,
you're right.
Yeah, Davis 404 says too many shows are going to have to change expectations for audience sizes. And then also Jody says, Gary, Dennis, and Susan totally agree. It's all about the writing. They need to keep their writing team solid. So if the writing starts to slip, why not hire new blood to keep up quality? Exactly.
Then sometimes they do, and sometimes it works. And especially when it's a writing room, Susan knows this. It's all about your chemistry in there, and the boss and the guy who's running it, or girl. Or the lady who is running it. And if they're a strong enough personality and a good enough politician, which is what I talked about in the live stream, like half of doing anything in Hollywood is being a good politician.
It's built on politics.
Yep.
High school times 20.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. And it's pretty much the same. The stakes are a little higher and things are more expensive, but it's high school.
Yep.
So we've hit the hour mark here.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
It's a good time to wrap things up, I think. Yeah.
Netflix was working with Uber money. Netflix is working on borrowed money, but Amazon is not. So Amazon's the real one that's going to pop up out of this. But yeah, like that, for one, so after I cough for the millionth time, I would like to thank Susan Leighton. Didn't she do great tonight, guys?
Yes. Thank you, Susan, for being, coming on our show and doing such a great job and
bringing it, man. That was good.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm always here if you need me again.
Oh,
nice. Definitely.
Yeah, I will definitely hit you up again, maybe even next week if you have
time.
That's
great. I can be here for the duration. That's not a problem.
Then let's do it. That sounds awesome. I love it.
Okay.
And it seems like the chat are very, they're very, no, they're not very fickle. They put up with us, but no, you were great tonight. Honestly, that was, I really had a good time listening to you, and you brought like stuff that we could not bring. We would not have known. So
yeah, exactly.
And it sounds like I need to up my game a little bit too in interacting with Twitter and stuff with Ash. So I'm going to do that too. So our next podcast will be Wednesday or no. Well, yeah, I'm about to jump on some guest stream, but I don't even know where it is right now. So I'll let you guys know in Twitter whenever the hell that happens. But our next show is going to be X-Files on Wednesday night, and then Friday Night Live. Yes. And then Counterpart comes back, and Jessica Jones on Tuesday. We got to do part 2 of Jessica Jones.
That's right.
Very excited about that. So any final words on Ash, guys?
Just watch the show. Watch now, not later.
Yep. I'm going to echo that sentiment as well. Just watch it, pay for stars, watch it, buy the DVD, the Blu-rays when they come out, and watch some more. It's a good show.
It's a great show. I will be very sad if it goes, and you don't want me to be sad, or Dennis, or Susan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about making people happy. It's what we do here. So, Dennis, take us out, man.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. People of Earth.
People of Earth. And remember, kids, progress, not perfection. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.